when trying to figure out how to hit drivers straight. I so wish a golf coach would have told me this when I was a junior golfer. It would have saved me years of testing just random golf tips with not a lot of success, to be fair. And in a recent golf school, 9 out of 10 students of mine couldn't hit a fairway consistently. Many of them sliced it, as you can imagine, and there was an occasional person that hooked the golf ball. And they were, those golfers, just like I was when I was a junior golfer, testing random golf tips, and nothing worked consistently until I shared with them this concept I'm about to share with you in this video. Once he understood, really understood how to hit drivers straight, they automatically made subtle changes to their setup and their swing naturally to help them get rid of their slice, or certainly for many of them reduce it just a little fade, and those people that hooked it much, much straighter. I want to share with you exactly what we did in this video because I just know it could help you too. Before I do that, look, if you're new to the channel, one of your first videos of mine, please consider subscribing. I release lessons just like this every single week to try and help you improve your game. Plus, you never have to remember everything we do here, I'll put into a free downloadable practice guide in that description box below. So if you're willing to give me a few minutes of your time, I think this lesson will be a real game changer for you, particularly if you want to hit driver straight. So it's 3 steps. The first thing I'm going to share with you, the concept that I share with the students. I'm then going to share with you some simple setup tweaks that you can make, and then I'll show you just one simple in-swing thing that made a massive difference to every single one of them. So let's talk about concepts really, really simply, right? So we want to hit drivers straighter. Now, all you've got to think of is this. We don't play golf in a straight line, so we don't have the club directly below the butt end, so the golf club is not a straight line, right? It doesn't go straight back and straight through. It's always, look, we play to the side of the ball, so it always works, look, on an angle, right? So that basically means as we swing this golf club here, the club swings on an arc, and as the club, look, is going down, it's heading, look, where? Outwards, still heading outwards until it gradually works around the corner, and now it starts to work inwards, right? Now the key is this. If you slice the golf ball, all it basically means is your club, when it hits the golf ball, is heading inwards on this arc, right? If you hook the golf ball, it's heading outwards as it strikes the golf ball, right? So you're basically mistiming it. So if you look at it here, look, if this is the center of your arc, you're catching it too early when you hook the golf ball, and you're catching it too late when you slice the golf ball. So that's the concept. So all we've got to do is figure out why. And once we do that, through some simple changes in setup and in the swing, everything starts to get so much easier for you. Now, every student in the session had all different faults in their setup and their swing, but the same concept applies, right? So all I did was this. For everyone who sliced it, I said, look, and if you could stop the video for a second, grab a golf club, I promise you, this will be so valuable for you. So we now know that if you slice it, you're catching the ball, look, when the club has gone past its lowest point, and you're catching it now, look here, on this side of the arc, right? So if that's the case, what could you do at setup to encourage yourself to strike it, or at least feel like you're striking it, earlier in the arc, before it goes around the corner? Well, think about it. Where would the weight be? Would it be better to be more forward or more back? You can see already, can't you? So pushing the weight a fraction forward, maybe 60%, favoring this lead side, would help to basically catch that ball earlier in the arc. What about handle location? If the handle is behind here, where am I hitting? I'm already, look, if I move my, look at this here, look, if I move my handle too far this way, where's the club heading? Already left. If we move the handle slightly further forward, we're heading it now too far right. If we do it too far forward, it'll be too much that way, right? So we've got weight, handle, what else? Shoulders, forearms. Look how everything, as we try and strike earlier on in this arc, look at this. Everything, right arm gets a bit closer to the body, look. Everything starts to move, look, around this way to catch it earlier. Once you understand the concept, what you will start to find is all of the body motions start to move in the right direction at setup, because now we're understanding that we've got to catch that ball more or earlier in the arc versus, look, watch what happens if we start to reverse this. Weight goes back, handle goes back, forearms start to get misaligned, right arm moves away from body. Hey presto, now we're going where? On this side of the arc. You follow? One final thing, ball position. So one thing with a ball with a driver, we don't want to catch that ball too much on the way down. We want to catch it, you know, I would say fairly neutral, maybe even on the way up if you want to hit a bit further. But in doing so, that doesn't mean move behind like this, right? Put your weight in your back foot or move the handle way behind. Because again, we don't want to be coming left. What we're going to do instead is this. We're going to have maybe the ball just inside that lead heel, but what we're going to do is that we're still going to position our weight slightly further forward and our handle slightly further forward, because this is going to help us, look, catch that ball. If anything, slightly as the club is heading outwards versus inwards, okay? Simple as that. Now, if you hook the golf ball, you just simply reverse it. Your likelihood is just double check you aren't doing too much of this. And what we're trying to get, look, is in this tight window here. If we catch the ball way too early, we're likely to be in hook territory. If we catch the ball too late, we're in slice territory. So we're trying to find this kind of safe zone, somewhere around here. And you play around just with setup to achieve that. Before we work on step number 3 and the in-swing component, which again is unbelievably simple, just watch out for where the club face is. So when I'm setting up here, look, and if you start to kind of move naturally, beautifully here into a place which is going to help you catch that ball earlier in the arc, so the weight's going forward, the hands are going slightly further forward, the trail arm's moving into the body. Look what that's done to my club face. It's possibly got it aiming a bit too far to the right. So all we do now is stay in this position, just close the face just a little bit, or square it off a little bit here, then grip it. And now you've got all the club face and the body matching beautifully to help you hit that driver straight. So before further ado, let me hit a shot just showing you this, and we'll move on to the in-swing. So I'm going to show you what happens here. If I was to kind of from here, look, move everything this way, watch what this does to the shape of the shot. If I really overdo this, you'll see an excessive hook. There you go. So that's me really, really overcooking it. So that's the whole point. If we then overcook the other way, so let's say now, so I caught that you were class too early on in the arc. If I overcook it the other way, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the handle behind the golf ball. I'm going to set everything over here. So everything now, the weight's going back, the shoulders are working open. What you're going to start to see now is a very different type of motion. I'm now going to be kind of behind the ball, coming across the ball, and now we create slices, right? So why my students love this, just at setup, is now they have, it's like almost like tuning a radio. We now know all we're doing is swinging on an arc. So when we're setting up to the golf ball, I got them to imagine almost like a wall right there, right? And we are going to strike that ball right there. In doing so, what's going to help you strike that ball earlier? We said there. If they overcook it and they start to kind of create hooks, what do? They just tune it back a fraction. If they over-tune it and it goes the other way, well, then it slices. So they now have a way, look, to start tuning their golf swing. So important. So, moving on to the in-swing component. Again, I want to keep this really, really simple, and that's all I did with the students. So ultimately we've said, look, we know the club swings on an arc, right? The first thing I get all of my students to do is make sure they're not steering this golf club. It's not a series of positions. It's a free-flowing motion. When you let this club swing freely, it will automatically swing on an arc. It's just that your body's got to be in a certain position in order to, when it does swing on the arc, you catch that ball in the correct place on that arc, right? And we've just given you some setup things to help you naturally achieve that. Let's give you now an in-swing thing. So because 90% of the people sliced it in the group, all I did was say to this, look, how can we help you strike that ball at least on this side of the arc? How do we help you stop coming on this side of the arc? And it was incredibly simple. All I said to him is, I said, look, get your lead shoulder working down and your hands in. And what this does is, look at this here. As my lead shoulder works down and in, what it does is helps them to swing beautifully on an arc, where see all my hands are working on an arc around their body. Now from here, what you'll notice is if you take yourself on camera, my hands here are splitting the lower part of my bicep. Most of the players that sliced it didn't do that. What they did is their hands took a straight line upwards, and when you got to about halfway, those hands were almost going up through their neck or shoulder line. Well, think of it this way. If they're swinging upwards here, what they're going to do, if you got it, they're going to swing down and around. It's going to be very hard to hit the ball on this side of the arc, right? So super, super simple. I didn't tell them anything more than that. The other thing that all of them said by doing this, they realized how much power it gave them. Because the thing is this, when your lead shoulder works down and your hands work around here, you're working the club beautifully on an arc around the body. This creates what's called angular momentum and speed. It's almost like it's my catapult effort. When you come around, you're going to be able to catapult that club look around the corner, accelerating that club here. Versus here, not only are you going to chop across it, there is not enough energy going into the back of the golf ball. So you don't just create big slices, you lose a lot of power. So super simple, get that sensation here. Get yourself in position and then just think lead shoulder down, hands around. So here we go, that's all we're doing. Simple as that. A nice easy one to start the day. And you can see here, look, I've exaggerated it just for you. Swing direction there, excessively in to out. So I've caught that ball now very, very early because I've shifted that swing direction excessively over here. That's exactly what I wanted to do with every one of my students that sliced it. All I would do is if I want to get that closer to zero and perfect, well, I would tune it. I would gradually work it back here. And it's as simple as that. What you want to do in golf is we are human beings. We are not going to be consistent, but you need a way to tune your swing. Understand this concept and spend the rest of your life simply tuning, because that's what we do as professionals, so that we find this lovely safe zone in here on a regular basis, all right? So concept, setup, shoulder down, hands in, create the arc of the golf swing here, and you'll be well on your way to hitting much, much straighter drives. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, maybe share it with one of your friends, and of course, look, if you're new to the channel, press that subscribe button down here. If you're struggling with your ball striking with your irons, please check out this video. Absolute game changer, and has been so ravely reviewed by many of my students. Until next week, have a wonderful golfing week.